Recent airline fare cutting has already seen regional operators flying close to the wind. Now the federal government wants to slug the airlines even more for the basic landing fees charged at regional airports, which share RAF control and firefighting services.
The way the prices are proposed to be structured would make it even more cheaper to fly between Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, but dearer to fly in the regions.
Every time a commercial aircraft touches down, the airline is charged a landing fee. Here at Williamtown, a Dash 8 like this one is charged $50. But under the new schedule of fees, the airline would be slugged a whopping $200. Government representatives arrived in Newcastle today in a bid to sell the new fee structure, but a lack of advertising of the consultation meant that airport manager Sandy White was the only one to put the region's case.
We've got a lease agreement that sets the price and we're sticking to that. We think Newcastle particularly may have a special case and we're very hopeful.
But Newcastle, like Townsville, Nowra and Darwin, seems likely to pay more.
The last thing that we want to see happen to our airport is any pressure being put on by charges that are just so prohibitive.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
John Raymond Muntz was 18 at the time he's accused of murdering fellow seaman Leslie Forrest. At Newcastle Court today, police prosecutors opposed his bail, claiming Muntz had no ties in Newcastle. But the former seaman was released from custody on the condition he doesn't enter the Harbour precinct and undergoes alcohol addiction counselling at Carrington. He's so far entered no plea to the murder charges, which date back 30 years. Leslie Forrest perished after falling down 4 metres of stairs on board the carrier the Nagahia berthed at Carrington. In January 1971, a Newcastle coroner ruled that Leslie Forrest's death was accidental. But in a police brief tendered in court today, police allege that both the accused and the victim were seen arguing on the night of Forrest's death. Police didn't interview Muntz at the time. The case today adjourned until the 5th of December. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
You don't need to look far to see through the cracks of Newcastle's business image. Ugly exteriors, litter-covered cobblestones, standout repair work, even phones missing. The CBD looks like a work in progress.
Until the Olympics are over, other than Sydney here as well, needs a good tidy up. A lot of rubbish laying around the place.
But an idea to something rather to encourage, bands or players or just a bit of music or something rather.
I noticed a lot of dog shitting around, that sort of thing around, so anyone could start picking up their own dog poo.
City Centre Chairman Colin Scott believes his group has the answer.
We are looking at revamping streetscape furniture in the city, looking at cleaning the city, bringing extra lighting in, closed-circuit television.
City Centre is chasing $100,000 from Newcastle Council to help fund its $850,000 plan that will see a crackdown on the owners of ugly businesses.
Asking the building owners and the real estate agents to lift the game a bit. The businesses or the buildings that are for sale or for lease are not presented in the same way that you would present your own house.
Newcastle Council will discuss the funding request next week. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
This is where industry meets art and the past merges with the present. 8 former workers started the photographic tribute with the fire and furnaces and finished with the plant's closure.
The stillness and the quietness and the desolation of the plant.
The exhibition is a result of an arts and cultural development course at TAFE, giving new direction and encouraging the development or enhancement of skills.
The 8 of us have got skills that we learnt in BHP, and we've been able to manipulate those and use those skills in this work.
It's taken our mind off what are we going to do, who's going to go looking for a job. We had something definite to do.
And when the structures they feature are long gone, the photos will remain. For some, it's created an emotional response as much as a sense of satisfaction.
It's been a good working relationship, just turning up 3 days a week and working with some of your old workmates from the plant.
The exhibition is called Stillworks and will be on show at Hamilton's Lindsay Street Gallery until early next month. Brooke Webster, NBN News.
$1 a litre for unleaded, $1.10 for diesel. It's little wonder thieves are keen to get their hands on it. In mid-October, thieves drove a stolen tanker into the Caltex terminal at Wickham and drove off with 60,000 litres of diesel. Today, service station franchisee Kevin Crossy told a parliamentary inquiry that rising fuel costs have led to an increase in service station drive-offs.
A lot of people just can't afford to fill up a vehicle, and they look for other ways around the system, and driving off is an easy and cheap way to fill up their vehicle.
The inquiry also heard how small community social groups are struggling under the weight of rising fuel prices. Di Beeston, who drives a senior citizens bus, told how her organisation is out of pocket.
We're nearly $300 down in income. If we lose, we're taking profits from other sections of the club.
Today's inquiry also heard from truck drivers who are driving further and faster just to make ends meet. Those chairing the inquiry say soaring petrol prices will be a key issue at the next federal election.
What the community want to hear is that they will drop the price of petrol.
It's been just over a year since Phil Kearns called it quits, but since then Australia has lost many more experienced players, and the former Aussie captain believes that could be the biggest factor in Sunday morning's test.
England probably got the best forward pack in the world at the moment, and that's where the Wallabies will really be challenged.
The Wallabies have beefed up their pack, naming Jim Williams in the run-on side and stacking 5 forwards on a 7-man bench. But Kearns thinks the real difference will be Australia's backs, who hit form against the Scots last weekend, running in 3 tries.
Our backs will bring it home for us. They're just a little bit too classy and a little bit too big and strong.
Meanwhile, his much-loved Waratahs face an even bigger battle in the coming Super 12 competition. The squad has lost a host of players from its lineup, with a number expected to make their debut this season.
Experience up front is really what's going to count for New South Wales. If they can get that, they'll do reasonably well. But you know, I don't expect them to win the Super 12 this year, but I expect a good showing from a lot of good young guys.
Coach Lee Sterry opted to leave midfielder Travis Dodd in an attacking role, and the choice paid off almost immediately. Andrew Rakic went even closer as the Cosmos blasted away. But after more than 200 minutes of soccer at Marathon Stadium this season, United finally broke through for its first goal at home. And what a solo effort from Dodd, firing a shot after a run that started deep inside his own half. 1-0 and a confident Newcastle side. Soon after, Todd McManus found room for Brad Witcherek in the penalty area, but when keeper Barney Smith hammered the United midfielder, a penalty is what Newcastle got. Anthony Surgeon made sure it became a 2-0 lead. A Canberra corner was again crossbarred, while John Bonavolia's first of the season eluded him as well. After half-time, the Cosmos got the break it needed when Chris Zoricic went too far in the penalty area, John Angelucci hitting home from the spot. The Kiwi defender nearly made up for it when Mark Wilson found him unmarked, but the goal was denied for offside. Newcastle actually had a few chances to seal it, but there were still signs this side is getting used to each other. However, everyone was just happy for the win.
For sure, you know, we just need an injection of confidence, you know.
The most used club in the bag this week has been the Brolly, but there were few singing in the rain today as low scores went bush. First round leader Steve Krause had a horror day, carding a 90 to slip 52nd overall. Starting the day 2 shots off the pace, Brett Dickinson also dropped well back, with an 82 seeing him drift to 7 over. Victorian Alan Patterson held form though with a 2 under par round 70. He joins West Australian Damien Chatterley on 4 under and both well in contention. One shot better is Adam Fraser. The Victorian carded his second successive 70 to be 5 under and 3 shots off the leader Mark Brooker. The New South Welshman has staked his claim on this, his last event as a trainee, with a third round 69 to be 8 under and 3 shots clear. If there was any consolation for the wet weather, at least the golfers were used to it by now, with rain falling for almost the entire 4 rounds. Also tumbling, overnight leader Mark Brooker's lead, with Adam Fraser working his way in front. Surrendering a 3-shot break, Brooker was forced to chase on the back 9, and on the 16th his ball told the story, slipping away, taking with it any chance of regaining the lead. Fraser, meanwhile, on the same hole, picked up another birdie to move 4 under for the day and 9 under for the tournament. Playing partner Alan Patterson was having one of those days. Bogeys and birdies lit at his card as he slipped back to even. Darren Chatterley too was keeping within sight of the leaders, but he couldn't chase down the front runners, finishing 3 under and in 3rd spot overall. Coming down the final fairway, there was little left to stop Fraser. The Victorian Institute of Sport-based golfer calmly slotted home his final putt to finish with a 68 and 9 under. The 4-shot win earns him the lion's share of $40,000 and a trip to America.
As a trainee, there's 2 majors of the year. There's the Rich River Classic and there's this one. And they're the 2 you really want to win. And to win both of them in the 1 year, it's just fantastic.
Little time to celebrate though. The 23-year-old flies out for Melbourne tonight to play a qualifier for the Australian Open. All the big names rolled up in the popular 3-test series, which was dominated by country from the outset. Recently crowned state singles champion, Woolgoolga's Michael Singh, was one of many country stars who outgunned the fancied city players. Both teams had 5 fours in the tournament, country wrapping things up on the first day, winning both tests. And it was thanks to shots like this as country racked up the shot and rink wins. And the form continued into day 2, with country becoming the first side to win the series in a clean sweep, wrapping up the 3rd and final test. The stats told the story. Over the 3 tests, the country boys won 11 of a possible 15 rinks, scoring 326 shots overall to City's 235.
Today, publicans, police, the RTA, council and the state government were all getting behind this innovative campaign. Drink without dramas, a push for licensees to offer free soft drinks to any designated driver prepared to abstain. They're hoping today's launch and the support from pubs and clubs already will spur on others to join the campaign. The RTA has just released figures showing a rise in deaths on the road for the 12 months to October this year, after a steady decline since 1994. It prompted this response from the member for Wallsend, John Mills.
There's been a small rise in fatalities this year in New South Wales after 6 years of steady decline, and it's important that we have campaigns like this to try to arrest that rise and get back onto the downslope of improving community safety on the roads.
Matt Carden, NBN News.
Just 6 weeks into the voyage, things could hardly be worse for Tony, with a plate which holds the mast stays below deck coming loose and threatening to collapse the mast. For 3 days now, Tony has been calling on all his resources to try to stay underway because calling in outside help would disqualify his effort.
My goal at this point in time is to stay out here. I don't want to go in to seek assistance, and what I've been doing is I've been cannibalising the boat.
Fellow Belmont Yacht Club member from Lake Macquarie, Glenn Coulton, has been following the drama closely.
He's put some of the running rigging down to act as a temporary chain plate, if you like, or temporary support, and he now has to get in there and try and re-secure the chain plate that's failed. So, pretty hard to do when you're out there in 30 knots of breeze and 6 metre seas. It's not a real easy task.
Despite his predicament, Tony is determined to continue, but with 17,000 nautical miles to go, he's being heartened by messages of support from people back home.
My initial reaction was great disappointment, followed up by, gee, I've got to save the rig, and this is the stack that they've dealt me. Now I feel very determined, Ray, very determined to try and see this through to the end.
It was a rude shock for builder Bruce Keevers, finding construction union boss Bob Cochrane at his Merriweather Heights site this morning.
I'm in a bad situation as far as this goes at the moment, okay? Not the respect that I'm owed money and all that, because I'm sort of the meat in the sandwich.
Striking steel tank and pipe workers are manning a picket down the road from a house being built for one of their bosses. Today, they were ordered by the CFMEU not to allow builders or materials access to the site because of safety breaches. But even the union concedes it's a move dangerously close to a legal secondary boycott action.
It would be if we were imposing bans in support of this picket line, but as it happens, the job is dangerous, and that's what the bans are about.
I mean, isn't that just a little coincidental?
In some ways, I suppose it could be viewed as coincidental. If the site had been completely safe, we would have had no reason to put a ban on.
The builder denies the site is dangerous but has postponed construction because of a contractual problem. The signs of community support for the workers' plight are just phenomenal. During our short time here at the picket line, at least every second person driving past is beeping their horns in support.
We've had supports from the ones that drive BMWs and Mercedes, we've had support from the police, forensics, ambulance, buses, everyone.
It's claimed that tyre tracks now cover the area's history, with important Aboriginal sites disappearing beneath the sand.
You can see all the old fires around here and a lot of artefacts, and you can see very little now. All the artefacts have been covered up.
But it's believed more of the heritage and culture of the area could be preserved if there was a whole-of-community approach to protecting the dunes.
A combined effort by all the local government authorities and the state government and community involvement, I think that's the only way to go.
It would involve finding ways to protect not only significant sites but also the local wildlife and vegetation. Restricting four-wheel drive access is seen as an important first step.
So you've got maybe 2 lanes where they have to use and go down onto the bight. At the moment they're running all over the sand dunes.
The National Parks and Wildlife Service said it would support plans for increasing community awareness about the value of the area, while Port Stephens Council believes an integrated approach to any proposals would be necessary. Brooke Webster, NBN News.
This mangled wreck marked a tragic end to a family holiday this morning. The Camry sedan carrying a family of 4 involved in a head-on collision at Kempsey. Killed instantly in the crash, a mother and her 4-year-old daughter from Minto in Sydney's southwest. The woman's husband and her other daughter suffered serious injuries after being trapped inside the vehicle for almost an hour. Police say it appears the truck driver who was not injured swerved to avoid the vehicle, which crossed into his path shortly before 2 a.m. at Gills Creek.
He was just heading north and the Camry sedans crossed the incorrect side of the roadway and come into collision with the truck.
The stretch of road is not considered a dangerous one and was apparently well lit. Police say fatigue may have been a contributing factor, but add investigations are still continuing.
Accident investigation section will hopefully have a result in the next couple of days as to what actually took place.
The 32-year-old father and his 6-year-old daughter remain in a serious but stable condition in Port Macquarie Hospital tonight after suffering facial and leg injuries. Helen Kapelos, NBN News.
Australia's World Cup winning league side flies out of London tonight after a weekend of celebrating that win against New Zealand. They're expected back in Australia on Wednesday morning, with many clubs keen to check the fitness of their players. Newcastle coach Michael Hagan is most concerned with Adam McDougall. The winger-cum centre was forced off in the final with an ankle injury.
Always a concern when one of your players is injured in representative football, but hopefully it won't be serious.
All 4 of Newcastle's Kangaroos will be rested until after Christmas before they're expected to join club training.
We resume after our break on the 3rd of January, so on or around that date would be ideal. But if, in the case of Benny Kennedy, for example, if he needs some surgery, he might be put back a little bit.
And when they do return, former Knights captain Mark Sargent will be back at the club in a new role, including that of football manager. Sarge replaces one of the club's stalwarts in Dave Morley, who's been replaced by the club after holding the position since 1995, and he's far from happy with the decision. Sargent played 126 games for Newcastle as a player, many of those alongside Hagan. And two other former teammates in Mark Glanville and Tony Butterfield are running for the Knights board, with 12 nominees set to outline their policies to members on Wednesday night. But in fact, Adam, on the inside, fought back to win by the barest of margins and will now head to Hong Kong to challenge for the rich international bowl.